Welcome to Keep What You Earn, your judgment and jargon-free zone for entrepreneurs of all levels. Get ready to learn how to scale your business, save money in taxes, and create a business that grows your wealth. If it feels like the financial side of business is like eating your vegetables, well then think of this podcast as the ranch dressing to make the process a little more enjoyable. My name is Shannon Weinstein. I'm a CPA and business owner on a mission to simplify money and empower others through knowledge. I hope this episode inspires you to take action, but remember that the information we share is for educational purposes only and is not individual tax advice. Now that we got that out of the way, let's start the show. Hey, welcome back to the show. If everything is going according to plan right now, then I am on a plane to Las Vegas, and I'm really excited to be joining Layla and Alex Hormozi in one of their business building workshops. And I'm just so excited to go there. You have no idea. This is such a big milestone for me to be able to learn from these amazing individuals. I've consumed Alex's books for a while, and I've just really been diving deep into Layla's content as well. If you're not following them, go check them out. I'll make sure their links are in the show notes too. But what I want to talk about today is something that Layla really leaned into in the preparation for this event, and something I wanted to pass along and share with you because she has this amazing skill. I'll give her credit for this at taking things that I feel like I already know, but putting them into words that just make freaking sense and how to articulate it. And she brought up this concept of the theory of constraints. Now, she didn't invent this concept. This is something that, you learn about in business school, and you tend to learn about the theory of it, but when you see it put into action and application, it starts to really make a ton of sense. And I wanted to pass this along to you as I started reflecting and thinking about this. One of the questions they asked us was, what is the constraint in your business that you would like to unlock? And that is a great question to ask yourself. And that's a great question to journal on, by the way, every month in your business. Like, what is the constraint I need to focus on this month? And I'll explain what a constraint looks like. So I tend to think about my business with this idea of three legs, these three legs it stands on, which is acquisition, it is fulfillment, and it is operations. And I tend to apply this to my clients as well. I've talked about it on the show before, where we group our costs this way, we group our effort this way. And every single month, I recommit to one of those being my focus area. So if I'm in a season of acquisition, I am majoring in marketing that month. None of them go by the wayside, but every single month there's a different focus area that gets a little bit more of my time. More recently, it's been in the fulfillment side, where we've really been honing in on getting things right around the offer or the product and focusing on product development. And then before that, it really was in operations, trying to make sure the machine was working properly. And I shifted more into the spring, going into acquisition. So what does that actually look like? And how do you identify which is a constraint to you? So I knew that we had a really good product. I knew we had the capacity for more clients, but I wasn't seeing a ton of pipeline coming through. And I realized, I got a little bit quiet when I was focusing more on the operations and the fulfillment side. I was neglecting a little bit of the marketing. So now I need to go into acquisition mode. And it can feel a little bit like that game, that whack-a-mole game, where once, feel like you've mastered one thing, the head pops up of another one that you need to go and squash. And you're like, okay, I can never seem to get it all under control. And I feel you. It's always going to be that way. That's just running a business. But when you can identify the focus area of where that's popping up, it's going to help you immensely. So if you feel like you're in that same season that maybe you have to focus on acquisition, that's great. Then you might need to be focusing on fulfillment. If, let's say, you have the pipeline, but your team's at capacity, they're burning out and they can't get the work done on time and you're missing deadlines. That is a fulfillment issue. And that might be hiring. That might be reducing workload. That might be reviewing efficiencies in your process, right? To figure out, how do we get to a point where fulfillment is not consuming our whole business and that we're able to manage that effectively. And then thirdly, operations. Now, you might be thinking, well, Shannon, you just talked about processes in the fulfillment side of things. Yes, I did. When it comes to cooking up your core dishes that you offer your customer. However, on the operation side of things, you want to be looking at the efficiencies around how your team is working. You want to be looking at the different operating elements of running your company? Like, do you have a really clear idea of your vision, your goals? Do people have the right guidance? Do you have SOPs in place for people? Do you have the right systems, tools, technology to enable people to be successful? And have you set clear expectations with everyone on what success looks like? Are you setting KPIs, goals, and metrics to make sure everyone's in line with where they should be and spending their time on what they should be prioritizing effectively? So when you're looking at each of these different areas, I would argue that even if you have to work on all three, honestly, and there's always room for improvement in all three. So if you're telling me you have all three on lock, I don't believe you. But there's always going to be something you can do, is take one of those three areas. And if what I've described to you kind of hit a nerve a little bit, where you're like, ooh, I got to work on that. Take that one, now break that one down and say, okay, what do I need to do to clear that constraint? Am I the constraint in the business where I'm doing too much? Do I need to hire people? Or is there a constraint where people are hitting a wall and they're unable to get their work done because of something else? I'll bring up one example in operations. So we bring this up all the time in our monthly team meetings and in my one-on-one meetings. I always say, like, what are we doing well? AKA, what should we do more of? What could we do better? AKA, what should we do less of? And then I say, and what is holding you back from succeeding? What is challenging you? And what I'm really asking is, what is the biggest constraint that you see? And the constraint that I saw, or that my team saw for me, was, hey, Shannon, we are really having trouble with sharing passwords because passwords will keep changing. From a security standpoint, we need to make sure we're effectively sharing the passwords. And whenever I don't have access to a key tool that I need, I feel discouraged and I feel like I have to pivot and turn around and start over. And we heard that loud and clear. We implemented a shared password manager that was super secure. And we've committed to each other that if something changes, we update the shared passwords in the system and that we're able to share all that consistently. Now, here and there, are we identifying little things here and there that, like, maybe me and Courtney have access to that the other team members need to get access to? Absolutely. But what's happening is we're slowly eroding that problem away, where now that constraint is no longer a problem. And now we will identify new constraints that help us, clear that out and move that forward. So again, it can be as minuscule as, my team just isn't getting the right access to the right systems as fast as they need to. What can we do to solve that? And chip away at one of these constraints every week. Chip away at one of these areas every month. And you will be amazed at how fast your business starts moving when you clear out that resistance, when you clear out those constraints. And it becomes overwhelming, honestly, to think about clearing out so many different constraints, especially if you're early stage, especially if you're growing. That there are so many constraints out there. Yes, there are, but you have to clear one at a time. You have to focus on one thing at a time, or you're going to move an inch in 10 different directions and never a mile forward. And that's the really important thing, is to focus on one of these core areas. Let's say it's acquisition, fulfillment, or operations. Pick one of those and say, I'm just in a season where for the next 60 days, 90 days, I am really going to dedicate an extra hour a day or an extra couple hours a week to specifically work on efforts related to this. I'm specifically going to sit down and document SOPs. I'm specifically going to sit down and pitch more shows to get on. I'm going to specifically sit down and write more copy, or, work on my customer service aspects and like review the process or review client deliverables to make sure things are done on time. And you just have to commit to, what does that look like for you? How do you clear those constraints in your own business? And then how do you also get better at identifying them as they come up so that you can create a path to clear them away and move on to the next step? Also, for what it's worth, we're also training our team members to identify constraints a little bit easier too, and be more vocal when they see something, because it's really important that you understand that there are the things that your team will see that you can't see. They will encounter constraints that you don't perceive yet. And rightfully so, you can't know everything they're going through or everything they're doing. So you also have to create a way for people to identify constraints and share them with you. So I would be as open as you can be about asking for those things and saying, hey, instead of what is getting in your way, because actually ask it in terms of, what is a constraint that you're feeling right now? And that might be a really powerful conversation. Similarly, you can use this in constructive feedback, where if you're talking to a team member who maybe isn't following the exact process, you can say, hey, is there something in the way, like a constraint here, that is preventing you from doing it this way, the way that it was designed to do it? Like, do you feel like you have to deviate in order to meet the deadline? Like, let's talk about that. Because I guarantee you that there's something that you're not thinking about or something you can't see that is the reason why you're seeing behaviors exhibited the way that you do in your business. Even if you're a team of one, this is a great way to help you focus your energy and attention so that you're not overwhelming yourself and burning out either. So take a second. Today, I challenge you, jot down a couple of constraints in your business that you're planning on clearing. And hey, let me know what they are. And I would love to share with you what I learned from this workshop when I head over to Vegas. Follow along on Instagram, follow me at Shannon K. Weinstein, and I will do my best to document the journey along the way. One of the fastest ways that digital business owners lose cash is not having a clean tech stack. And by that, I mean individual costs for email marketing platforms, CRM, community page, course creation platform, website designers, and all these things do add up. And it can be super hard to run a profitable business using all of these different systems. That's why I love Kajabi. Kajabi is your all-in-one solution that manages your business throughout the customer journey. From lead generation to taking payment and sending onboarding emails, we use Kajabi for everything. And you can try Kajabi for 14 days free by heading to trykajabifree.com or click the link below in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating and review on your podcast platform. This small action goes a long way for podcasters to get our message heard by more business owners just like you. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to information about our guests and ways to get in touch with me. We'll see you on the next episode.